Imagine, if you will, spending like 15 years of your life meticulously building these 13 picturesque, idyllic communities across the country.
Right, like a massive undertaking.
Yeah, you pour your whole heart into it. You pour your entire life savings into creating this haven for yourself and, the people you care about.
A total life's work.
Exactly. And now I want you to imagine watching every single one of those homes forcibly demolished. Just gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your savings are completely wiped out. And on top of that, your passports are invalidated, so you can't even leave the country.
That is just, it's incredibly bleak.
It gets worse. Imagine finding yourself bound with ropes, squatting in the dirt, while a police officer is literally pointing a gun at your back.
I mean, that is the kind of staggering, overwhelming scenario that just breaks people. Under that immense pressure, the natural human response is nearly universal.
People
They
commit.
consolidate, right? They
Yeah.
harden.
Right, they fight back. Most of us, and I would absolutely put myself in this category, we would fight back. We'd form a resistance or organize protests.
At the very least, harbor a deep, burning resentment.
Exactly. But today, our mission for this deep dive is to unpack a completely different response. We are looking at a 2023 document by a man named Shufeng.
Yeah, he's the founder of a group known as Lifechanyuan.
Right, and this document details their philosophy. It's essentially a real-time account of a collective consciously choosing to reject retaliation, even after enduring what most of us would consider unimaginable provocation.
It really is fascinating. The translated essay we're using as our sole source today is titled Guard Against Lifechanyuan Being Alienated into Political or Religious Organizations.
That's quite a title.
It is, yeah. But we're treating this text as sort of a psychological and sociological case study. It gives us this very rare window into a marginalized group that is actively, intentionally fighting the urge to radicalize.
And just to be clear for you listening, we're impartially exploring the ideas presented in this source to understand their internal logic. Because honestly, it challenges almost every conventional assumption we have about conflict and human nature.
It really does. It forces you to look at things differently.
Yeah, so the core tension we're exploring today is something you can probably relate to on a personal level. Like, how do you manage to hold on to your core principles when absolutely every external force is pushing you to abandon them?
Right, when the pressure is just relentless.
Exactly. And to understand their response, we first have to grasp the sheer scale of what they dealt with. Xiu Feng details over 10 consecutive years of this oppression.
10 years. That's a long time to be under a microscope.
Yeah. They watched 13 of their homes get demolished across all these different regions. Yunnan, Nanjing, Xinjiang, Guizhou, Shandong, Chongqing, just everywhere.
And the text notes that the financial devastation alone amounted to tens of millions of yuan. I mean, that is a catastrophic loss of resources for any community.
Totally. And the document gets painfully specific about the lingering indignities, Like, it mentions that even 2 cars from their Guizhou home just remain confiscated to this day.
Just sitting there.
Right. And members endure surveillance, abduction, and obviously losing their passports. They are essentially trapped in limbo. They can't establish homes domestically, and they're legally barred from moving abroad.
Now, you might expect a spiritual leader to kind of sugarcoat this reality, right?
Yeah.
To claim perfect enlightenment and insist his followers feel nothing but serene peace.
Yeah, like we are above all this.
Exactly. But Su Feng does the opposite. The emotional honesty in the text is actually quite striking.
It is. He is incredibly blunt about their psychological state. He openly admits they haven't yet reached a point where, as he phrases it, Mount Tai could collapse before us without changing our expression or heartbeat.
Right, he acknowledges the reality of their feelings.
Yeah, he says the inner anger was self-evident. They felt the rage. They had those natural impulses to resist and fight back against the people destroying their life's work.
And recognizing that anger is crucial.
Yeah.
Because it forces us to examine the actual mechanisms they use to override it. See, Lifechanyuan wasn't built to operate as an opposition movement. Their stated mission is to pioneer a completely new mode of production and living, with the ultimate aim of becoming what they call enlightened immortals.
Okay, I want to pause on that term, enlightened immortals, because to a modern ear, that sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel.
It does sound a bit mystical.
Yeah, so what does that actually mean in the context of their daily lives?
Well, in their framework, it's the pursuit of a flawless, selfless state of existence. It's about transcending earthly attachments, petty squabbles, and the cycle of hatred.
Okay.
They view every event through the lens of the Tao, meaning the natural overarching order of the universe.
Yeah.
So in this worldview, everything, even the destruction of their homes, operates within the Tao.
So wait, how does that apply to the people holding the guns and driving the bulldozers? Like, how do they justify that?
Well, Schueven frames the government's actions neutrally. He describes them as the collective karma of the nation. Yeah, and meanwhile, the actions of any single individual are simply personal cause and effect. The philosophy dictates that every existence in the universe holds its own value and conforms to a macro balance.
Okay, I'm tracking with you.
Right, so they cannot view the government as an evil entity to be destroyed, but rather as a force of nature acting out its inevitable role.
I have to play devil's advocate here because if I put myself in their shoes, this sounds like a recipe for getting completely crushed.
Oh, absolutely, it looks that way.
Like, it's as if my neighbor drives a bulldozer through my living room every single week, and I just stand in the rubble, shrug, and say, well, that's the neighborhood's collective karma, and start sweeping up the drywall.
It sounds like extreme passivity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's even a line where Shifeng says something like, construction is our affair, not the government's. As for the government destroying our home, that is their affair.
Each does their own job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no hatred between us. It is just incredibly difficult for me to wrap my head around that logic.
It definitely looks passive from the outside. But internally, it actually requires this intense, active discipline. What you're describing as passivity is a tactical form of emotional management for them.
Tactical how?
By deeply believing in the justice of the Tao, they are actively neutralizing their own resentment. Sufeng understands that the moment they allow anger to dictate their actions, the moment they become a political or religious resistance group, they nullify their previous 15 years of effort.
Oh, I see. Because their entire purpose was to prove that humans can exist in a state of truth, kindness, beauty, and selflessness.
Exactly.
So if they pick up weapons or start screaming in the streets, they just become another angry faction in a world already full of them.
Right, they'd be validating the very selfishness they're trying to transcend. So the non-resistance is a structural necessity for their specific philosophical survival.
That makes sense.
If they fight the bulldozer wins not just by destroying the house, but by destroying their internal ecosystem.
Wow, okay. But that raises a glaring question for me. If Lifechanyuan is this dedicated to peace, to the point of actively suppressing their own anger and letting their homes be destroyed without a fight, why are they viewed as a threat in the first place?
It's a great question.
Why the surveillance and the invalidated passports?
Well, the text provides a really fascinating answer to that, centered around a pivotal conversation in 2013.
Right, at the linking branch.
Exactly, the fourth branch of Lifechanyuan in Lifechanyuan. Zhuofeng actually sat down with a local public security captain.
And Shifeng asks the captain a very direct question. He says, you frequently visit our home. Is there any illegal behavior from us? Is our home not good?
And the captain's response lays the entire dynamic bare.
Yeah, the captain tells him, you haven't committed any crimes and your home is good. But if the number of Lifechanyuan members keeps increasing, we don't know what you might do.
Exactly. The authorities aren't reacting to a crime that has been committed. They're reacting to the unknown potential of an organized, highly disciplined, growing collective.
Which is terrifying to any authority.
Right. A group of people who are completely aligned and willing to pool all their resources is inherently powerful, regardless of their current peaceful intentions.
But the reaction from Shufeng is what completely surprised me here. Any typical leader would get defensive, right?
Absolutely.
They demand to be judged on their actions, not on some hypothetical future crime. But Shufeng listens to the police captain and actually agrees with him.
He really does.
He writes in the text that the concerns of the public security personnel are entirely reasonable.
His level of introspection in that moment is just profound. He looks at the trajectory of his own movement and realizes he cannot guarantee his own future incorruptibility.
Right.
He notes that, at the time, they only had a few hundred members. But he asks himself this crucial question. If this group grows to a massive number like thousands or tens of thousands, might I develop ambitions?
Yeah.
Might I try to expand my reach, dictate terms, and interfere with the government?
It totally reminds me of the Ulysses Pact from Greek mythology. You know, Ulysses knew that when his ship sailed past the sirens, the song would drive him mad and he'd steer into the rocks.
Right, the foresight to tie himself up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
While he was still thinking clearly, he had his crew tie him to the mast. Zhou Feng is looking at the intoxicating nature of power and recognizing it as a siren song.
He knows nobody is completely immune to it.
Yeah, he even compares his potential future self to officials who once hated corrupt politicians, but upon gaining power became the exact people they used to detest.
It's true. He recognizes the sociological reality that leverage changes the human brain. Most founders operate on the assumption that because their original intentions are pure, any power they acquire will automatically be used purely.
Which is almost always a mistake.
Exactly, and Feng rejects that fallacy. He decides that the only way to prevent the corruption of his movement and his own ego is to guarantee that the group never acquires the kind of leverage that could threaten the state.
But acknowledging that vulnerability is one thing. Translating that epiphany into actual rules for a community is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually codify don't get too powerful?
It's tricky.
He realizes he has to build structural guardrails. So he identifies the two main vehicles for explosive, sudden growth in human society, politics and religion. And then he aggressively outlaws both of them within Lifechanyuan.
Let's examine how he dismantles the potential for a political machine first, because the rules he implements are absolute and uncompromising.
Right. He decrees that no one can call upon other members for any political activity. He strictly forbids any marches, demonstrations, petitions, or resistance of any kind.
None of it.
None. And he bans the issuing of political appeals or comments in the name of Lifechanyuan. It is a complete withdrawal from the political arena.
And by severing those avenues, he removes the group's ability to act as a pressure group. They cannot lobby for their land back. They can't protest the demolitions. They can't leverage their collective numbers to sway local policy.
Wow.
They are structurally forcing themselves to accept whatever political outcomes are handed to them. It removes any threat they might pose to the established political order.
I mean, I understand the political ban, but the rules against becoming a religion are what really caught my attention. Because when a group talks about pursuing a state as enlightened immortals and viewing the universe through the Tao, it sounds inherently religious to an outside observer.
Oh, absolutely. It has all the hallmarks.
But Feng is terrified of religious machinery. He explicitly forbids his own deification. And there is one specific mandate he puts in place that serves as the ultimate failsafe.
Yeah, this part is wild. He orders his followers to turn on him if necessary.
Yes. Feng commands that if any Lifechanyuan celestial feels displeased with him, they must express it. If they ever feel that he, the founder, is attempting to impose his personal will on them, they are instructed to directly resist.
It's a self-destruct button for his own ego.
Exactly. He is preemptively arming his own followers against his potential future megalomania. He's literally handing them the tools for a mutiny, just in case the power ever goes to his head.
It is a remarkable structural decision. He's dismantling the very mechanisms that usually insulate a spiritual leader from criticism. And furthermore, he strips away all the traditional trappings that allow a belief system to rapidly scale.
Like what?
Well, he dictates that Lifechanyuan must be viewed purely as a way of life, or a large family formed by strangers. He explicitly states they are not a faith-based group.
Right, meaning no religious ceremonies, no personal worship, and no preaching venues.
Exactly. Politics and religion are the twin engines of mass mobilization. By intentionally ripping those engines out of his own organization, Feng is deliberately hamstringing their ability to grow.
He's guaranteeing they stay small.
Right. He is ensuring that Lifechanyuan will remain slow to expand and marginal in the eyes of society.
Which brings us to a massive paradox here. Because of these incredibly strict guardrails and this total refusal to leverage their numbers, their definition of success looks indistinguishable from failure to the outside world.
Oh, completely. By any traditional metric of organizational growth, they are failing catastrophically.
Yeah, the document reveals that after 20 years of existence, Lifechanyuan is not just failing to expand, they are actively shrinking.
Right.
The standards they've set for themselves, this absolute rejection of selfishness, resentment, and ambition, are so impossibly demanding that even members who have been practicing the lifestyle for over 10 years often fail to meet them and leave.
But here's the thing. Feng does not frame this attrition as a defeat. Instead, he views it as a deep alignment with the truth of their current reality.
So?
He explains in the text that in today's era, having fewer members aligns perfectly with what he calls the development laws of human civilization. They aren't attempting to force a mass awakening or recruit an army of followers.
They're just waiting.
Exactly. They are essentially biding their time. The philosophy dictates that only when substantial changes occur on Earth, and people naturally awaken on their own, will their numbers organically increase.
So they are playing a game with an incredibly long time horizon. And to illustrate this mindset, Zhuifeng uses a metaphor that completely reframes their entire situation. The members of the group call themselves Chanyuan celestials.
Right.
But in Chinese, that term translates directly to Chanyuan grass.
And out of all the organisms in the natural world to adopt as your identity, grass is perhaps the most humble and easily overlooked.
Yeah. Shufeng explains that grass represents the most fragile form of life within the biological hierarchy. He notes that its individual strength is inferior even to various insects and bacteria.
It's so delicate.
By naming themselves grass, they're intentionally broadcasting that they are the most vulnerable group in the world. They are declaring that they completely lack both the will to confront anyone and the physical ability to resist any external force.
And the biological reality of grass makes this such a profound metaphor. By its very nature, grass is destined to be trampled, right?
Yeah, constantly.
It is fated to be eaten and abused by livestock. By embracing this identity, Sweefing is accepting that Lifechanyuan members are fated to be bullied and oppressed by larger, more aggressive forces.
Wow.
So the demolished communities, the constant surveillance, the invalidated passports, none of this is an anomaly to them. It is just the natural, unavoidable consequence of being grass in a world populated by livestock.
But the metaphor doesn't end in victimhood, and that is what makes it so powerful. Sweefeng points out a biological truth. If some cataclysm occurred and all life disappeared from the world, the very first thing you would see covering the earth again would be grass.
It's true.
Its vitality and resilience are just completely unmatched by any other organism.
As long as a single blade of grass survives, the reproduction of life will eventually occur again. Grass doesn't win its territory by fighting the livestock.
No.
It doesn't win by growing fangs or building walls or developing a complex defense mechanism. It wins simply by outlasting the things that trample it. It wins by being undeniably, persistently alive, no matter how many times it gets cut down.
Let's pull all of these threads together and look at the journey we just took you on through this document. Lifechanyuan presents us with an absolute masterclass in the mechanics of radical non-resistance.
Absolutely.
Faced with the traumatic demolition of 15 years of labor, their homes, and intense government scrutiny, they just refused to retaliate. Instead, they turned inward.
They actively limited their own growth.
Right. They dismantled their own potential for political and religious power and mandated resistance against their own leader's ego. And they did all of this simply to protect their core values of truth, kindness, and selflessness from being corrupted by the very act of fighting back.
It really forces you to turn the mirror on yourself and ask a deeply uncomfortable question about your own life. When you are faced with unfair pressure, when someone metaphorically bulldozes your hard work or attacks your character, what is your default reaction?
Good question.
Do you compromise your own stated values just to fight back and win the immediate battle? Or do you have the immense discipline to shrink, to endure the unfairness, and stick rigidly to your principles, even if it looks to everyone else like you are losing?
It completely upends our standard definition of strength. We're so conditioned by society to believe that power means visibility.
Oh, yeah. We assume power is continuous growth.
Right. Market share, the ability to mobilize followers, and the capacity to exert force to make the world bend to our will. But if grass is destined to outlast all other life forms simply by enduring, by accepting being trampled while reproducing quietly in the background, does true, unbreakable power actually lie in the capacity to be completely unremarkable?